Welcome along to Matchday Live here on Foxes Hub, and South London is the destination for the Foxes today as Steve Cooper's side take to the road for the second time this season, and Crystal Palace and Selhurst Park are the hosts for this one. Both clubs on 1 point at the start of this new season from their first 3 games. Let's go straight into today's team news as we build up to kick-off, which is of course an hour away. Steve Cooper has made one change to the side that lost to Villa here at King Power Stadium a couple of weeks ago. We see Mavididi making his first Premier League start. We think that'll be off the left-hand side. Out goes Abdul Fatawu onto the bench today. So this is the 11 then. It's Hermansen in goal with Christiansen, Fass, Akoli and Justin across the back 4. Winks, Ndidi and Skip as the midfield 3. We think presumably again Ndidi in that more advanced role. Mavididi and Jordan Ayew against his former club of course in Crystal Palace, supporting Jamie Vardy, who lacks a goal against today's opponents. On the bench it's Ward, Cody, Fatawu, El Kanous, Chowdhury, Decordova-Reid, Ricardo, Samare and Buenanotte. From a Crystal Palace point of view, they'll probably be a little bit disappointed. The fact they've only got 1 point from their opening 3 games, considering how well they ended last season. They've got Henderson in goal. Their back 3 is Lacroix, Guehi and Klein. Munoz and Mitchell will be the wing-backs, with Decore and Adam Wharton in midfield. Eze and Nketiah, new signing, £30 million, Eddie Nketiah, supporting Jean-Philippe Mateta, who has been in red-hot form in 2024. Well, welcome along to Matchday Live, as we've said, to the studio with me, Dan Bates, Jerry Taggart and Mark Albright, and 2 Matchday Live appearances in a row for Mark. Welcome to the both of you. Your first away game that you're doing with us here, and hopefully we can see Leicester pick up their first victory of the season today.
Yeah, it's a bit different coming to the King Power on an away game. Very quiet, so it was a different drive into what I'm used to. But no, good to be here again and watching the lads. But it's a game where I feel like they get a certain amount of games into the season and they need to start putting points on the board. Points need to start going on the board. So it's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a big test. Like you say, Crystal Palace have not had the start that they would have hoped for. So it's not going to be an easy game, and it's not an easy place to go. So it's going to be a tough one, but they can definitely get something there.
Mm. Yeah, I think this is a game where both teams will feel and be hoping to get something out of it. As far as Crystal Palace are concerned, you mentioned their home form last season. So they'll be looking to get off the blocks today with 3 points, and they'll feel they can achieve that after watching the games that Leicester have played in. For Leicester, on the other hand, vitally important that they make it as hard as possible for Crystal Palace today. And what I mean by that is they can't afford to make mistakes in crucial areas at crucial times in the game. They have to be solid for the full 90 minutes because, as you said, Mateta in particular, and you've got Nketiah and Eze in that front 3, they're going to cause some problems.
We'll talk about the Leicester City team in just a moment. We've got plenty, though, to get through here on Matchday Live as we build up to kick-off, of course, down at Selhurst Park. Not the happiest of hunting grounds for the Foxes in recent seasons. We'll look back at that game. It was only 2 weeks ago. It feels like longer, doesn't it, against Aston Villa. We'll look back at the Goal of the Month nominees and winner as well, of course, for the month of August. And here, of course, from manager Steve Cooper, preparing for his 4th competitive game in charge of the Foxes. Well, as we said at the very top, it's one change to that side that lost narrowly to Aston Villa. I guess that's one thing we can say as well, and we'll get onto it in a minute, Jerry, that all the games Leicester have played, the 2 defeats have each been by a narrow margin.
Yeah.
I think things could have been better, couldn't they, in those games?
You can't fault the effort, you can't fault the performances. And when they've gone behind in games, they've always struck back, equalised, and then or got themselves back in the game and then managed to concede another shall we call them soft, some pretty soft goals. And that's what I'm talking about today. It's the conceding after getting themselves back into the game. The Fulham game comes to mind away from home. We're talking about away game today. They do really well to get themselves back into the game, and then they concede what has to go down as a pretty soft goal. And they can't afford to do that today. But you cannot fault the performances and the levels that the players are at.
Yeah, it's one thing I guess you saw in the flesh a couple of weeks ago against Aston Villa is when they went 2-0 down, they didn't give up, did they? They really pushed. They got that goal back and nearly got that equaliser as well.
Yeah, and it was the same against Tottenham as well. In the second half, they really come out of the blocks and really had a push. And I think, like Jerry says there, you can't afford in this league to give away soft goals. And I look at Villa's first goal here, where a couple of weeks ago, and from a Villa perspective, it's a really well worked free kick. It's a great goal straight off the training ground. From a Leicester perspective, it's lack of organisation, lack of sort of communication in that area. So that'll certainly be something that's been mentioned after the game and probably in the couple of weeks leading up to this game. So I would expect now the lads to be fully switched on at set pieces. That's their warning. That's their sort of trigger. That now they've got to make sure that everyone's in the right places and everyone's doing their jobs.
Yeah, you could make the excuse for what Mark's saying is down to you've got different players coming in from different countries. In a Cooley, you've got a young raw talent who's probably not up to speed with the way the Premier League's played. And so with what Mark said, with the lack of communication, lack of organisation, you could probably make a bit of an excuse for that. But you have to draw a line at some stage and say, there's no more excuses. We have to nail this down. This has to be right at every time we can see the set piece or a free kick, we have to nail this down and get this right. And that has to start today, because essentially today's game, dare I say, is a bit of a 6-pointer. Even though we're only the 4th game into the season, it's a massive game for both clubs because they're desperate to get some sort of momentum. And all the other clubs around these two clubs, Palace and Leicester, have all got difficult games today. So one of them has to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think they can take a lot of confidence from that Villa game. I think they played really well in a lot of the game. I think with Harry Winks and Oliver Skip in the middle, they had a lot more control over the ball. And I think having Wilf in there, it gives you that bit more athleticism in there. It gives you that bit more strength. So I think that's positive, especially when you're playing away from home. I think that's important to have. Obviously, we've got the lads on the bench. If the game needs changing, there's talent on the bench. But like I say, I think with the way that they've played in, especially the Villa game, and the second half against Tottenham, there's plenty of confidence to take from these games, and they have to bounce from them performances.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about that Villa game. Let's take a look back then at the best bits from that defeat in Leicester's second home Premier League game of the season.
The targets at the far post include Onana and Konsa. Rodgers will add height in there as well. Two Villa players make the run inside the area. This is a well-crafted free kick, and Bailey across the box and into the net from Onana. Straight off the training grounds and executed from a Villa perspective absolutely perfectly. Tillemans had it. Two Villa players made the run into the box and it was square. There was a crowd of bodies, but Amadou Onana, who scored on his Villa debut at West Ham, scores in back-to-back away games, sliding in. Christian stuck out a leg. It's another cross, this time a thumping header clear by Wout Fast, 6 yards from his own goal. And now it's with Digne, the left back. It's a 1-2 with Ramsey. Digne with a crossing opportunity. It's a header from Duran. It's his first touch since coming off the bench, and he scored Aston Villa's second goal of this game. The cross was delightful from Digne. It was a brilliant 1-2. And Duran rose high, 8 yards from goal. A well-angled header, well out of the reach of Hermansen, a scorer on the opening day at West Ham as a sub. And he repeats that trick at King Power Stadium to make it Leicester 0, Aston Villa 2. Out to Christensen, urged to come forward. Ball across the ground to Mavididi. He could attack the penalty area. He steps over, he goes around Bogart, and he chips one up towards Ndidi, and Buonanotte scores his first Leicester goal and gives the Foxes a route back into this game. Substitutes combining. Mavididi driving forward, delivering the cross that eventually fell to Facundo Buonanotte, who drove the ball.
Yeah, and they just couldn't quite get back into the game, Jerry, could they? With you were on commentary for us for that one, and yeah, 2-0 down. They really fought well, didn't they, to get back into it? They got the equaliser in enough time, didn't they? But they just couldn't quite.
Yeah, I think even, you analyse Buonanotte's goal, even that flick on from Wilfred Ndidi, I mean, crucial. I know it could have been easy if, I'm not saying if he hadn't seen that fight, but in a situation where there's no self-belief, he doesn't win that header, but he makes sure he gets something on that. He doesn't know where the ball's going. He can't really direct the header because he's off balance when the ball comes in here. It's just but he makes sure he wins that. And it's fortunate, okay, but fortune favours the brave, as they say in this situation, that it pops up. And that is a cultured finish from Bunnan. He's under severe pressure there. And again, it would have been easy for him to lose his composure and just have a snapshot. It could have went anywhere. But he just steadies himself under pressure. And that's a really cool finish.
Yeah, I think like you say there about Wilf, he's just having his presence in there.
Yeah.
Just having his presence in there to cause problems, to attract defenders, and obviously Buonanotte finds himself free because Wilf's attracted 2 defenders there. So Steffi, obviously he's in from the start today, but I think he deserves that now. He deserves a chance. He came on, he made an impact. So it's now down to him to take his chance and do what he did against Villa, do that from the start and be a threat, be the exciting player that we've seen over the last sort of 12 months. So it's a big opportunity for him, and one that I'm hoping is more than up for.
Yeah, again, when you go back to the cross, that's when he's at his best, Mavididi. When he's running at defenders and doing things quickly. A lot of times you'll see him receive the ball on the left-hand side and he'll do a step over here, a step over there. He'll feint to go down the line and then he'll pass it backwards or come inside. But when he's playing at pace, when he's got a 1v1 and he's made his mind up early what he's going to actually do and he executes it, I'm not saying he's unplayable, but at times, there's not a lot that the defender can do because he's got really quick feet. And obviously off the mark, he's got a good turn of pace. So we just have to see a little bit more of that from Steffi throughout the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I want to see him be positive. I want to see when the ball when the ball comes to him, like his first thought is, right, can I take the defender on? Can I get past the defender, just like he's done there? And whether that's because he hasn't been starting, that he got the ball there and thought, right, I've got a short amount of time now, I need to make something happen. But it's worked, and hopefully he takes confidence from that, and that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, you'll both know from your respective careers that sometimes you might have been left out in a game where you're thinking, no, I wanted to be playing there. So then either you come on, or in the next game you have the bit between your teeth and you really want to prove a point. And hopefully, like you said, that's what we see from him today.
Yeah, I think you do always have that, especially with someone like Steffi, who was more or less an ever present last year. He had such a good season. He was a massive part of us getting the promotion. So he would have been desperately disappointed not to have started the season. So when he's on song, he like Jerry says there, he's more or less unplayable. So that's what we need to see. We need to see that from him because we have got the players on the bench now. We have got competition for places. So it's not a case of, right, you have an average game and you keep your place, because that won't happen this season because there's so much competition.
He's starting today purely based on that cameo role he played. And I'm sure these are things that Steve Cooper's been saying to him. You know, I need to see more positivity when you're in possession of the ball. If you can't find a route to get across in, move the ball quicker, go and find a bit of space. And that's exactly what you've seen against Villa when he came on. He was positive, he looked hungry, he gave the fullback an absolute torrid time. And Steve Cooper appreciates that, and that's why you see him start today.
Well, I suppose that's the beauty of it, that then it's Abdul Fattah that's dropped out. You've got him on the bench ready to come on. He can change a game like that, can't he?
Yeah, he can. I think, like, obviously we've seen Abdul's talent over the last sort of 12, 18 months. And I hope that they've got people around them. There's people going, right, okay, you're not in this week, but you need to make sure you're ready. Like, you need to make sure you're ready to come off the bench. You need to make sure you're ready for next week. I don't want to see people sulking, because this game, this season, is going to be about the whole squad. And I know a lot of managers say that, and sometimes players get disillusioned with it. But it's important that everybody stays mentally in the right place and ready to make an impact when called upon.
Yeah, and again, you know, he's still only a kid.
Yeah.
This will be the biggest learning curve. You know, he's come in last season, took the league by storm. You know, won Young Player of the Year award, and now he's in the big league. And he found it quite difficult, I thought, last week or a couple of weeks ago against Villa. But that's fine. You know, this is a learning curve, so he's going to learn from that and learn from those experiences. That he's not going to be top of the shop. He's not going to be the star man every week, and he has to process that in his own mind. So Steve Cooper's from, we'll take you out today, but as Mark says, you got to be ready, because at some stage you're coming on, and I want you to go hell for leather when you do.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Abdul, he's with what he did last year, and everybody was probably expecting him to do exactly the same this year, and it's just not that. Like
there is a difference, isn't there?
There's a massive difference. You look at when he gets the ball, sort of in the Premier League. He's probably got more time with the ball to think about things, whereas in the Championship it's a bit more frantic. There's a bit more happening, but your decision making just has to be so much better in the Premier League, because you can't afford to lose that ball, because if you lose it, you might not see it for another 3 or 4 minutes, which in this league can be the difference between winning and losing a game.
Yeah, one player, Jerry, that we've seen that's been very good at keeping the ball, winning possession, winning free kicks, Jordan Ayew, of course, against his former club. Do you agree with our lineup that we've got? We've got Mavididi coming in on the left, Ayew shifting then from the left to the right, indeed in the 10. Is that how it'll be today, do you think?
I'd have thought so. I think he does his best work on the left. Steffi Mavididi and Jordan Ayew, you can play him anywhere, and you're still going to get the same results. I don't think it's an issue for him. He's an experienced pro. He's been around this league for many years, so no issues whatsoever where you play Jordan Ayew in that top line. I've seen him play there for Palace on that right-hand side as well.
Yeah.
So, not an issue for me. But there's a good balance actually in the team, you know, which is important as well. Especially when you're going away from home, you need to have a good balanced side, because different players can give you different things at different stages in the game. And so, with having good balance on both sides of the pitch, you've always got an option of an outlet, or getting your team up the pitch when you're under pressure, and that's what both of those guys will give you.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Ayew coming inside as well. Like, I know he's in that right wing position, but he's done a lot of his good work. I've been really impressed with him since he's come in. He seems to have settled in
like
straight away.
Like a 10 type thing.
But I'd expect to see him in there, and the same as I'd expect to see Steffi probably a little bit higher and supporting Vards at times. So I think there's a structure there, but I think it will be quite loose. And like I say, with Jordan Ayew, I've been super impressed with him so far. I think he's been a great asset to the squad so far and the team.
We actually seen that in pre-season, what Mark's talking about, where your wide forward players were shifting inside, and one of the fullbacks was then coming up and filling that gap on the right hand side, on the the wide right hand side. So it's a good point. He makes sure that Ayew going in and supporting Jamie Vardy and whoever else is in and around that area today.
One of the maybe question marks in the lineup is the lack of maybe the recognised number 10. You can see that the comments from some people on social media wanting either El Khanous, who by the way I think he's only trained 3 times with the team because he arrived just before the Villa game. Then he went straight away on international duty. He's come back. Or Buonanotte. The story goes he's had a scan this week, so he was in contention to start, but the bench maybe is a safer bet for him today. So maybe the thought process was there, but as you've referenced there, Wilf is more than capable of doing that role.
He is, yeah, and like I've already said, when you're playing away from home, and especially a place like that where the fans are close on you, and it's quite an intimidating atmosphere. You want as much sort of personality and strength and presence in that midfield, and I think he just shores everything up. I think there might come a point of the game, maybe on an hour, maybe at half time, whenever it may be, where we could be chasing the game or want to go on and win the game or whatever it may be, and we're going to need somebody off the bench to come and create that for us. And I think with starting Wilf, I think it's exactly the right thing to do, and then with the lads coming off the bench.
Yeah, he's probably there's 2 ways he could have went here. You're looking at Palace's home form in recent times, which has been pretty good. Okay, they've been beat. The only game they've played at home this season, they've been beat. But up until that stage, like the back end of last season, they were pretty impressive at home. So he's got to go solid. He's got to be solid. You've got to compete in there. And then, once you've Steve Cooper and his staff and even some of the players have worked out the game and where the gaps are, where they can exploit Palace, that's when you bring your flair on.
And get the ball to that man then.
Yeah, absolutely. No one better.
No one better. and we have seen that already this season. Even against Villa, he was creating things, wasn't he? A couple of shouts for penalties. I think there definitely would have been had he not been offside right at the very end of that one. His header against Spurs, vintage Vardy, wasn't it? So vintage. We know he's still got it in his locker.
Yeah, I think whenever he plays, he's always going to be a threat. He'll play on the shoulder. He's obviously changed his game slightly. He's had to change his game with different managers that have come in. But ultimately, when he's playing on that shoulder of defenders, he's one of the best at doing it, and has been one of the best in the last 10 years. And he'll always find himself in a goal scoring opportunity. He'll always get a chance, and I think that's a thing that you can take confidence from being following Leicester, that you're always in the game because you're always going to get that one chance with him.
Okay, speaking of goals and speaking of going forward, that man on your screen there, Jordan Ayew, features in August's Goal of the Month nominees. Let's take a look through the best strikes scored last month.
Richards, again Popov trying to find some space inside the penalty area. Richards past Larios, in toward Popov, who turns it in for 1-0 Leicester. Well, no surprise that Armani Richards has had a big hand in that goal. He's been the outstanding player in the first half. And Chris Popov gets Leicester off and running for the new PL2 season just before half-time. A typical predatory finish from the number 9.
He's joined by Ndidi. It's fed into Christiansen. It's a low ball across the 6-yard area. Comes out for Tawu on the Leicester right. He's crossed Vardy! Jamie Vardy! Again for Leicester City. Ageless, priceless and timeless Jamie Vardy. Just a few yards out for Tawu, the youngster with the cross. And Vardy just continues to add to his Leicester goal-scoring tally. An equaliser at King Power Stadium. It's 1-1.
good movement.
One and nothing, Smalling, fast is up, Leicester have scored. Wow, fast, with the first away goal of the season. The away end has erupted, and it's 1-1 at Craven Cottage.
Jordan Ayew. Ricardo in the central area, he's got skip and he's gone for goal himself! And that was the right option. A home debut, a first Leicester start, and a first Leicester goal by Jordan Ayew. Outside of the penalty area, right-footed, a powerful, accurate shot that gives Leicester City the lead against Tranmere in this Carabao Cup tie just before half-time. Dropping the shoulder, coming in 20 yards from goal, moving into a central area, and it might come back to Ndidi, rather fortunately, but he will take full advantage, right-footed, passing the ball into the bottom right corner. The attempted pass came off a Tranmere player and landed invitingly for Ndidi. It was on his left foot, but he quickly checked back onto his right. A scorer at Tranmere 12 months ago. A scorer at King Power Stadium against the same opposition.
Just make sure he doesn't get three of them.
Winks lots of time on the edge of the area. He's had a shot, and why not? What a stunning goal from Harry Winks late in this game to give Leicester a fourth goal. Tranmere backed off. Winks was invited to shoot, and it's a powerful, low, well-struck shot. Ball across the ground to Mavididi. He could attack the penalty area. He steps over, he goes around Bogart, and he chips one up towards Ndidi, and Buonanotte scores his first Leicester goal and gives the Foxes a route back into this game. Substitutes combining. Mavididi driving forward, delivering the cross that eventually fell to Facundo Buonanotte, who drove the ball in amongst a crowd of players from inside the 6-yard area into the net. It's Leicester 1, Villa 2.
Yeah, some nice goals there scored in the month of August across all of our teams. Votes have been in, they've been counted, Jerry. Only one winner, I think, it's fair to say.
Yeah, some good goals. But yeah, as far as the execution, I don't know what the Tranmere midfielder was doing on the edge of the box. He sort of tripped himself up and fell over himself. But, you know, we still got to bend that in the top corner as Mr. Ayew. So, yeah, that's a great strike.
Not a bad way to open your account for your new club, is it, that one, Mark?
No, it's a lovely strike. It really is.
Watch, see that? He just...
Yeah,
you know.
I think he's sold in there, isn't he? But no, lovely execution, lovely finish.
It's a type of thing we've seen him pull off the incredible during his time with Crystal Palace. I think he was up there for a goal of the season contender at one point with an amazing run that he scored a goal in the Premier League for Palace. And he's got that quality, hasn't he? And we've seen it already now against Tranmere. And I guess he'll have the bit between his teeth against his former club today.
It'd be interesting to see how his mindset is. I know he's going to go out there and, you know, give it all. But, I mean, he spent a lot of good years at Palace. A lot of the fans apparently didn't want him to leave as well. So he was really well liked down there. So it'll be a bit of a bittersweet homecoming for him today, I'd expect. But I'm sure once he gets out onto the pitch, he realise that, as I say, it's a bit of a 6-pointer today. Even though it's, you know, nothing's won or lost 4 games in, but you're just desperate to get off the mark and get some momentum going.
Yeah, I guess he'll... Maybe if it's the new manager, we don't know, that's come in and said that he's free to go. Regardless, against your old club, you do want to prove a point, don't you? And against your former manager, you'll want to prove a point.
Yeah, and I think just even on a personal level, like we've said, he's had such a good career in the Premier League. He's done well. He's scored plenty of goals. He's made a name for himself in the league, but he'll want to keep progressing his own ability, progressing his own career, and he's got a platform here to do it now. Whether he was going to stay there and be a bit part player or whether he could come here and hit the ground running like he has, and he could be massive for us this season. But we could also be a massive platform for him to showcase his ability.
Hopefully so. Well, down at Selhurst Park today for us, from a commentary point of view, we've got Matt Elliott. Good afternoon to you, Matt. I gather you got the... there you go. We're talking to you, Matt. Can you hear us?
Sorry, mate. I was having a little waffle with my compadre, Chrissy Parrott. No shock there, I suppose. But yes, you have my attention, Daniel.
You got the train down, I gather, this morning as well.
I did, yes. Can't quite afford first class these days, mate. But yeah, I took a leisurely ride down. It makes sense. I mean, most people know Selhurst Park is an absolute abomination to find, to get to on a Saturday afternoon. Took some other members of the staff 3.5, 4 hours. Just took me 2 hours bang on with a half-hour wait in between trains. So I'll be doing it more often, I think, Daniel.
Yes, hopefully so, Matt. What are you expecting today? That the guys in here have been saying it's an opportunity today, isn't it, for Leicester to get their first win of the season? Hopefully so.
Well, we always hope for a Leicester win, don't we? But easier said than done, that's for sure. But yes, I take the point. I think most people will be looking at the points tally up to this point of the campaign, and then seeing this fixture, there's a little bit of, not turmoil for Crystal Palace, but things aren't going particularly smoothly for them at the moment for one reason or another. And Selhurst Park, traditionally a difficult place to come as well as find, but it's you get the feel that Leicester sort of growing in. They're hoping they are growing into the season, and this sort of game, you'd like to think that they can get something out of it. But it's going to be as I think it's going to be most weeks, it's going to be a really toughly contested game. But yeah, it would be very welcome, wouldn't it, if Leicester can pick something up, at the very least a point. A win would be beautiful.
Hi, Matt. It's Tags.
Gerald, how are you, son? Sorry, I dropped my shoulder on you the other day in the golf day, didn't I?
I'm very surprised that I'm actually speaking to you.
Yeah, just being ultra professional, Gerald.
Yeah,
have we officially fallen out of it?
No,
Sorry.
don't be daft. So where do you actually see the game won and lost today, Matt? If Leicester are going to get something out of this?
Yeah, well, I think I heard a bit of you guys talking. Nice to see you back on the settee, Mark. It was part of the condition that I wasn't on the settee with you, and you agreed to come, I can imagine. Trust me, it's even worse with Jerry, mate. Trust me. But yeah, no, I've heard you talking about the midfield area there, about Steve Cooper wanting to go solid and be, slightly secure if he can. With the three defensive-minded midfielders, shall we say, Wilfred and Didi, not looking to take any risks, and I think he'll want to try and secure that as much as possible. But similarly, Palace have strengths in that area as well, don't they? Will Hughes has been playing quite regularly. He's on the bench, so that's going to be a tough old contest. But I think overall, Jerry, I think it's going to be very tight right across the field throughout the duration of the game. As is the case a lot of times, I think it's going to be in moments. It's going to be in moments a little bit, and Palace have that threat, but it's time for Leicester players to sort of step up to the plate a little bit in the attacking third, isn't it? And hopefully they'll do that today.
And just finally, Matt, have you managed to sample the pre-match?
You know the answer to that one, Gerald, don't you?
Foodstuffs.
Yeah, especially as I got here on time and early. I've been attacking on three international fronts today. I had the Chilean rice, a little bit Mexican flavour. And that was complemented by, well, some might not say complemented by chickpea curry, which went along very nicely. And then there was Greek flatbread and hummus there on a little plate on the side, just to show a little bit of quality and culture on my behalf.
I'm jealous.
Very tasty, Gerald. Yes, very tasty.
Thank you very much, Matt. Speaking with more passion about the food, wasn't he, than the football on offer today at Selhurst Park. He'll be on commentary duty alongside Chris Parrott, who handily pulled him back into a better shot and in the picture there. We're about 25 minutes away now from kick-off. Leicester City will be debuting their new third kit for the first time this season. In all white, the Foxes, inspired by the Ice Kings in the early 1960s.
Howard Riley, Richie Norman, Mike Stringfellow were key members of the side that very nearly won the double in 1963. They've gone down in history as the Ice Kings. They were called the Ice Kings because that winter was the coldest winter of the century. So you don't know.
That's me there.
This season's second away strip is based on and inspired by a very famous white Leicester City shirt from 1962-1963, when Leicester City had one of the best sides in the country. They very nearly won the league and cup double. This all-white strip really is a very important part of Leicester's history.
City centre-forward Ken Keywell scores.
You can see the fox and crop emblem, which was so famous for many years, skillfully sort of embedded into the fabric of the current shirt.
Quite hard to do. It's not thinner, it's not as weighs very much, is it?
It's like, it feels like a summer kit.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of winter, it's going to be a bit cold. Just have to run a bit faster.
Well, there you go then. Leicester City's new kit, inspired by the Ice Kings in the early 1960s, will be worn for the first time by the first team this afternoon down at Selhurst Park. You can get your very own top as well, of course. Just head on to lcfc.com to pick up your third kit inspired by the Ice Kings, of course. Hopefully we'll see the Leicester players, Vardy, cool in front of goal this morning. Had to do something, didn't I, along those lines. But let's go to the other end of the pitch then, Jerry. Your expertise. The central defenders will start with Fass and Okoli. Okoli against Villa, were you impressed by him? He looks like a real prospect, doesn't he?
Yeah, for the most part, absolutely. I think if you analyse both goals conceded, there's things that he can learn from both them goals. But overall, as I say, he's raw. He's a raw talent. He's come from completely different football and culture and playing in Italy, where I'd assume they're told to mark a man and do your job. Whereas here, it's all about the unit, communicating, covering, stuff like that there. And he looked as if he got the grips with that for the most part against Villa. And so there's just little tiny pieces he needs to tighten up on. But, you know, he's definitely showed great promise there against Villa.
Yeah, I think it's the same as, obviously, Abdul. I know Abdul's had another year here, but he's still young. Okoli's still very, very young. I think, like you said there about the goals, yeah, he's probably too far off his man when the ball comes in and Duran's allowed to get a free header. But apart from that, I thought he had a real solid game. He looked comfortable on the ball. He looked, again, his presence. He could be a threat from set pieces. So I think he's certainly a player that could be a big asset for us. But I look at that area of the pitch now, and we've got a lot of cover. We've got a lot of competition for places. So that can only be a good thing for the squad and the team.
Yeah, the likes of Ricardo. We've yet to see him make his first Premier League start, and that probably shows you the quality then that clearly is in this back four. And Victor Christensen, not many people maybe would have expected seeing him return to the team.
Hey, listen, hats off to Victor Christensen. You know, he was out in the cold last season and when he joined, basically. But he's come back and proved the point. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's down to Steve Cooper, who, you know, he picks the team. He sees the players day in, day out. He decides who he wants in the team. And you can't say that James Justin and Christensen haven't played their part in some solid performances, defensive performances. Obviously, Ricardo, I mean, I wish he was my love child. I mean, what's a player? But for some reason, he can't find him. He can't get himself into the starting 11 at the minute. But, you know, as I said, Steve Cooper wants to play a certain way. And at the minute, he's saying Justin and Christensen get the nod.
Yeah, and I think, again, we touched on it earlier about sort of swings and roundabouts with who comes in and with the Abdul and Steffi situation. And it's the same again. Like, obviously, Ricardo played a massive chunk of the season last year. He was one of our most sort of ever present players, and he's finding himself now where he's not in the team and he's fighting for his place. I think with James Justin, like what we touched on with Ayew going inside, I think James Justin complements that really well. He'll be the one to bomb on, and so it swings and roundabouts. But again, I look at it and I go, well, we've got two incredible players for that one position, so that can only be good for the squad.
These decisions are based on minor details. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like Steve Cooper thinks that Christensen and Justin are streets ahead of Ricardo. They just give something a little bit different that suits the way Steve Cooper wants to play.
Yeah, and I guess you played in front of both James Justin and Ricardo Pereira, didn't you? I guess there are differences in the way they play, but one thing we know from Ricardo, there's absolutely no way he's sulking, is there? He will be trying, and he'll be annoyed. Obviously, he's not in the team, but he's not that type of player, is he, to sulk or to spoil the dressing room, if you like?
No, not at all. Ever since he came into the club, he was very professional. Very professional. He did his job, made sure he did the right things. Obviously, since he's been at the club, he's had certain injuries, which I think has really sort of helped him mentally along the way, as bad injuries as they were and as tough times that he's had. I think they've really made him sort of mentally strong. So things like this, being out the scene for 3 or 4 games won't make too much difference to his head. He'll still be doing the right things. He'll still be in the gym. He'll still be working hard on the training pitch, and certainly when he gets his chance, I'm sure he'll take it.
Absolutely. Let's hear from his manager then, Steve Cooper, as ever, ahead of every Premier League game. We'll speak to the press. Earlier in the week, he's been looking ahead to this game with Crystal Palace.
Well, clear way of playing and formation and sort of tactical repetitions that you see with them without the ball, which is quite typical really of the level of the Premier League. So it's obviously an away game, and that comes with his challenges that we want to be able to be a team that can thrive in. So we're fully aware of the task ahead. And you know what it'll look like on the pitch, what it'll look like off the pitch in terms of atmosphere, etc. And we're really focused in doing well and going down there for sure. But tough game, like they all are. But one we're looking forward to and we'll be ready for.
They struggled a little bit in the first 3 games, but the job that Glasner did and the clear change he had at the end of last season was very quick and apparent. I'm wondering what you make of him as a coach.
Yeah, well, it's my first time in going up against him, but you know, aware of the success that he's had, and respect for that. Always respect opposition coaches. So yeah, like I said, just looking forward to the challenge of the game, and we're only 3 games in, but it's you know enough to be going. This is what we want to be doing now this year, and so we have to get better, and this is the stuff we need to keep going. And Palace is just the next step for us, you know. So. Yeah, game can't come quick enough. Now we've got everybody back, apart from Bobby. Really good vibe in training today. Yeah, games they can't come quick enough, to be honest.
There's a pair of games coming up in the next 2 weekends that will be perceived as already very big games. Are they an opportunity for you though?
Every game, the 3 games we've played before, like 2 of them have been home games. I know they've been against. The 2 home games have been against teams that will be at the top end of the league with huge investment and all of that sort of stuff and expectations. But we've gone into them games with a real mentality of what we can achieve. So that'll be the application into every game. You're right in the question, 1 game at a time. You know, and we're not looking past Palace and just focused on whatever it takes to get success out of that game. With the game plan, with the mentality. You know, that's just where our focus is, Ivan. You know, and I think if we keep that approach, and have a real positive attitude in looking at what we can do and be sort of motivated by succeeding and not sort of fear of failure, then I think that'll give us the best chance of achieving what we want to do.
That was Steve Cooper there speaking to the media ahead of the game this weekend. I think one thing we'll probably come to learn from Steve Cooper is that he'll never get too high when the team's doing really well and winning. Also, if results aren't going Leicester's way, he'll never get carried away in a negative sense either.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I enjoy listening to him. I enjoy listening to his press conferences. I think he speaks very openly and honestly, and it's just great to hear when a manager says how buzzing training's been this week. Like that's what you want to hear as a supporter, as a keen follower of the club. That's the stuff that you want to hear going into this weekend's games, and I think the break come at a good time to get everyone sort of settled and get everyone sort of together and mix the new lads in with the current lads. So I'm really looking forward to this game, and especially hearing his comments there.
Yeah, I think just listening to his interview there, and I'm saying about not having a lack of that fear of failure, basically, and going out with a positive mindset is going to be massively important this season. You look at the results so far this season, and Leicester, even though they've lost 2 or 3 games, it's been on a knife edge. Each of them results have literally been on a knife edge.
Do you think it'll be that case all season, whether it's Leicester winning a game or losing a game? It's never going to be, it's always going to be close,
I'm going to go back to the Great Escape season where Leicester just could not find a result from somewhere, but they hung in there and they stuck together as a squad. And the manager, I assume Mark, was still giving out those positive vibes in the dressing room before every game. And then it turned. And then they went on that run. Okay, this is a bit earlier on in the season, and we're only 4 games in, but they have to stick together and they have to be positive, even if they're not getting the results they want, but the performances are good, then they still give themselves a great chance. And that's exactly the same sort of scenario that Mark and the Leicester lads found themselves in all those years ago.
Yeah, and I look at the Villa game a couple of weeks ago, and what's beat them is just that little bit of quality. Yeah. Just that little bit of quality.
Bit of nice.
Other than that, a
little bit of Premier League nice.
Other than that, they matched Villa in every other aspect of the game. So if we can find that little bit of quality, whether it's one of the new signings that comes into the game, or Vards up top, whoever it may be, if we can find that little bit of quality to go and win a game like that, then we'll win enough games.
Yeah. But before we hand over to our commentary team, let's get a quick recap of today's team news from a Leicester City point of view. That man we've just been hearing from, Steve Cooper, has made one change to the game we've just been talking about against Aston Villa. Steffi Mavididi, who got a half kind of assist against Villa with that brilliant run, comes into the team. Out goes Abdul Fatawu to the bench. Samanson in goal, Christensen, Fass, Akoli and Justin across the back 4. Skip and Winks in midfield with Mavididi, Ndidi and Ayew in behind Jamie Vardy. And quickly from a Crystal Palace point of view, this is how Oliver Glasner sets his team up. Henderson in goal, Lacroix, Guehi and Klein, the 3 we think, as the 3 central defenders. Mitchell and Munoz will provide the width with Decore and Wharton in midfield. Eze, new signing Eddie Nketiah and Jean-Philippe Mateta lead the line for Crystal Palace, who have a good record against Leicester. They've beaten the Foxes more times than they've beaten any other team in the Premier League. Hopefully Leicester can buck that trend and change that stat today. We'll hear from Mark and from Jerry at half-time, but we'll hand you now over to our commentary team of Matt Elliott and Chris Parrott.